There are supposed to be 34 boss fights in the new Lords of the Fallen game. In this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 bosses. If you have completed the game, you'll be well aware that Lords of the Fallen doesn't have the most difficult bosses, especially when compared to FromSoft games. But that's not the worst thing. I'm sure at some point you wanted to quit a FromSoft game because you couldn't beat the boss. Lords of the Fallen does not leave you with that kind of frustration, because with this game, most bosses will only take you a few tries and then you're done. With that said, I'll be ranking these bosses based on how difficult they are and how fun they actually were. Number 10 on the list, we have Abiding Defenders. This is a mini boss fight that comes late in the game, so it's not that difficult because your build is almost complete at this stage. This fight took me a few tries to beat because my approach was all wrong. I kept on killing one long before the other, which was unintentional. The trick to this fight is focusing on taking one of their health down to about 20% and then switching to the next one. If you don't get your timing right in killing them, this fight can drag on for a long time with one healing the next. During the fight, one of them will always stay aggro while the other stays from a distance and uses radiant magic. Most of the attacks are well telegraphed, so they're easy to dodge, so you can always evade and get your hits in. Number 9 on the list, we have Congregator of Flesh. This fight can be a bit challenging because it's early game and your stats and weapons are not developed and are pretty much lame. Plus for me, I start with a Black Feather Archer, which puts me at a disadvantage early game because Black Feather Archer is one of the weaker earlier classes. In terms of the actual fight, it's very easy to get your hits in because he is huge, but he does do poison damage, which is actually a throw early game, because at that point you don't have any poison items to negate the damage. But he does have a vestige on his back, which will get rid of the poison if you pop it. If you don't want to focus on getting rid of the poison, you can always use an in and out tactic, which will allow you to get hits in and then retreat so you avoid poison build-up. But he does have one long range rush attack which can one hit kill you, but it's telegraphed so it's easy to dodge once you know it's coming. It's a good fight considering the level you're at when you fight him. On number 8 on the list, we have Sundered Monarch. I think this could have been a better fight considering it's supposed to be one of the last major fights in the game. His attacks have a good range, with some having good area damage. Plus he does have one attack that kept on doing damage to me, even though I was getting perfect dodge. I don't understand why it was happening. So dodging his attack on time is not always enough, you have to dodge in the right direction also. Apart from a few wide range attacks, this fight should be a breeze. I'm not too sure why I enjoy this fight, maybe it's because he has high HP, but my dual wielding bleed build was ripping him to shreds. I'm telling you, the Archer build with the bow of the mutilated plus the bleed weapons is really underrated and doesn't get the respect it deserves. At number 7 on the list, we have Crimson Rectal Percival. This is another mini boss fight that makes the list. This fight doesn't really have anything special to it, but it is fun. He fights very aggressively and summons a clone that can attack you from mid-range to long range. Plus, at different points he will start healing himself when his life is getting low. There are a few vestiges on the battlefield that will assist him. If you're able to pop them, it will stop him from using his radiant attacks and healing, which makes the fight a lot easier. Like many of the other mini bosses in the game, you're gonna find him in different areas throughout your playthrough, but he's still fun wherever you meet him. At number 6 on the list, it's Tancred, Master of Castigations and Reinhold the Immature. Now this is one of the main story bosses with two phases. Tancred will use long range radiant attacks that does a fair amount of damage. I recommend being aggressive since his melee moves are easy to dodge. But if you're going to take that approach, keep in mind that he does have one hit kills. He also has an attack that stops you if you're being too aggressive with area damage. After I lost to him one too many times, I switched to the bow of Mutilated, which actually made the fight unfair. In the next phase, you fight Reinhold. In this phase, he uses ranged fire attacks which doesn't hit that hard, but he can be a lot more aggressive with his close combat attacks which hits harder. On top of that, his combos become a lot more unpredictable, so you never know what to expect. There's nothing really in this fight that's going to wow you, but it is going to give you a challenge compared to other bosses you're going to fight. Okay, now we're in the top 5. In number 5 position, we have Pieter. The first boss fight you're gonna get with a cutscene attached to it. This fight was designed to put what you've learned so far to the test while you're still in the virgin stage. Because of this, most people will die a few times trying to figure out how range attacks. And to be fair, she does have a few of them. They don't deal a huge amount of damage, so you can escape getting hit more than one time. But as soon as you get a feel of her attack patterns, it should be easy from then on, and she won't be much of a problem after. This fight gets a decent score on the difficulty scale and how enjoyable it is. Number 4 on the list, we have Harrower Dovla. I believe this was the first fight that actually had 2 boss phases. Phase 1 is where most of fun is. This phase has everything: range attacks, flashy attacks, hard hitting combos, close combat fighting, and healing. What more do you want? But like most of the bosses in the game, her close combat moves are very easy to dodge, but her crossbow attacks are certainly not. They attack fast and they have area damage, but you can use the battlefield to your advantage by hiding behind the pillars. The pillars will eventually break after you take a few hits though, so you have to be mindful of that. You're going to have to choose when to attack and when to take cover, and plan your strategy properly. When she takes enough damage, she will try and get healing. This is your opportunity to target the boy on top with long range attacks. Doing that will automatically get her in stun lock, which gives you a free hit. The second phase is not quite as fun. In this phase, the boy fuses with Dovla to create a new monster. He has a few range attacks here and there, but they're easy to evade, so you can be as aggressive as you want for most of this phase without really paying for it. No matter how bad you think the bosses are in Lords of the Fallen, you're gonna have some fun playing this fight. In number 3 position, we have Light Reaper. You fight him a total of 3 times during your playthrough. He is fast, he has a wide range of combos that he uses, he has long distance attacks, and he switches up his moves constantly, all contributing to a good fight. Normally, when I was struggling to beat a boss in this game, I'll just use my bow of the Mutilated, which made everything easier. But even that option wasn't 100% effective, because he dodges the arrows, plus he has a very strong defense. In terms of difficulty, this was a top 2 fight, but it only makes top 3 in terms of actual fun. At number 2, we have Judge Cleric, the Radiant Sentinel. This is by far the most difficult fight in the entire game, largely because of the amount of options she has. Long range attacks, fast attacks, wide range attacks, one-shot attacks, and that's just in the first phase. At one point, every time I died to her, it was to a different move or combination. I swear she has like 20 of them. And like I said, this is all in the first phase, because if you get to the second phase, she has all of the previous mentioned attacks, but they're all stronger, faster, and cover more space. Plus her combos get longer, so there are times when you're going to be playing defense for a very long period of time. I'm sure this fight took me more than an hour to beat, and I only did because I switched to my Buff the Mutilated, and even with that I still struggled. My number one fight in the entire game is Hushed Saint. My experience playing Souls game has taught me that the most difficult fight isn't always the best fight. The first actual fight with Genichiro in Sekiro is by far my most favorite fight in all of Souls games. I died so many times to him that it wasn't even funny. But what made that fight enjoyable to me was that it had a certain rhythm to it, made from deflections and counters and attacks, and I just loved the vibe. Hustle didn't give me the same type of rhythm or vibe, but something about this fight that made me really excited about it, knowing when to dodge, where to dodge, and when to attack. This is not the most aggressive boss you're gonna find in the game, but it's certainly one of the most enjoyable ones. Plus, it's at the stage of the game where your build is really starting to take shape and you're already used to how your weapons work. If for some strange reason you made it through this video and like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you agree or disagree with the list and tell me about your top bosses.